2023 NBA draft is finally wrapped up, and I think there's a lot to discuss about the winners, losers, and the fit of these players on their new teams. This draft definitely had a lot of exciting attributes, although I was expecting a little bit more trades, but there was a lot of picks to talk about, and immediately you have to start off with number 1, Victor Wembanyama to the Spurs. Of course, this was a no-brainer pick for the Spurs, and I think his fit along Keldon, Devin Vassell, Jeremy Sohan, pretty seamless, and you take him, you don't think about it, and you build around him from there. I think there'll be a lot of discussion over the Hornets taking Brandon Miller second, and while I would have taken Scoot personally, as I think he was the best prospect behind Victor, I don't hate it. The Hornets were kind of grasping at straws here, and I think either one was a win. Thinking about their draft history and all the picks that they've had in the last decade or so, I think this will be fine. I think they have a good starting point with him, LaMelo, and some of their other young players like Mark Williams. Trailblazers got their guy, Scoot Henderson, number 3, and they kind of had to. He fell into their lap, projected to go 2, and what this means for the future of Dame, I don't think you even think about that right now. You take the best player, and you worry about it from there. And if Dame doesn't want to do the rebuild, he will net you even more to build up that future in Portland that's already started off with Scoot, Shaedon Sharpe, Anthony Simons, and yeah, they have all their picks going forward, or most of their picks, and they'll get a huge haul for Dame if he ends up leaving. The next thing to talk about in this draft for me was Anthony Black going 6 to the Magic. I kind of feel bad for them. I feel like they were really hoping for Ausar Thompson to land there, and I think that's what most people were expecting, but he went 5th to the Pistons, and the Magic take a versatile guard with size that can play alongside their core of Franz, Paolo, Markelle, Wendell, all those guys, and I think the fit is not bad, but I do think Black at 6 was a little high, and I'm not sure that that's the guy they wanted. I do think they wanted more of that wing scorer like Ausar, but I think Anthony Black will be a good NBA player. The Wizards ended up trading up 1 spot to 7, jumping ahead of the Pacers, and they took Bilal Coulibaly out of France, Victor's teammate, and I think this was the best spot for Bilal to land. The Wizards are not going to be trying to win any games next year, and while Bilal is a project, he will have time to develop in Washington with no really pressure, and I think the core that the Wizards are starting off with obviously isn't great, but it could be worse. And the Pacers still get their guy in Jarris Walker, who was reported they weren't going to let fall past 7, traded down to 8, got their guy. I think he's a great fit with Miles Turner. I think he's a great pick and roll partner with Tyrese Halliburton, and the shooting with Buddy Hield. Benedict Mathurin's still the wing scorer that he is. I think they have a good core going over there, and Jarris Walker is going to do all the right plays for them. Another pick that is really intriguing to me was Cason Wallace to the Thunder at 10, who traded up with the Dallas Mavericks to jump up 2 spots. And immediately, I thought the fit might have been kind of weird, drafting another guard. I wanted them to pick Derek Lively at 12, but I do think Cason Wallace is a good enough off-ball player that he can play alongside Shea and Giddey and Jalen Williams, and I think his point of attack defense is something that they will use to their advantage. And as we talked about the Thunder trading up, the Mavericks traded back down to 12 and selected Derek Lively while getting off of Davis Bertans' contract, and I love this move for the Mavericks. They get a center who actually has some size, unlike Dwight Powell, Maxi Kleber, even Christian Wood. Derek Lively is a freak. He is a 7'1" center that can protect the rim, roll, do all the little things that a center needs to do. And at these pre-draft combines and workouts and stuff, he has been showing off that jumper. And man, I'm excited for Derek Lively in Dallas, assuming he stays there. And getting off that Davis Bertans contract is huge for trading back 2 spots. Orlando was back up again with the 11th pick, and they took Jett Howard out of Michigan. And Jett Howard, I do like Jett Howard as a prospect, 6'8" shooter who projects to have some off the dribble creation. And I don't hate the fit here in Orlando. They needed shooting and they got it, but I do think that was a bit of a reach, and I would have loved Grady Dick here a little bit more than Jett Howard. The next pick I want to talk about is at 16, where the Utah Jazz took Keontae George out of Baylor. And this is an upside pick for sure. He didn't shoot it the best at Baylor last year, and his stock kind of dropped because of that, but you can see the potential of him as a number 1 option shot creator, both off the dribble, off the ball, projects to be a solid defender. I think there's a good upside pick for Utah, and they don't need him to do too much, but any production from him will be good. The next pick I wanted to talk about was at 18 with the Miami Heat taking Jaime Jaquez Jr. out of UCLA, and I really don't mind this pick. I thought it was a little bit high for what he brought at his age, but he is an NBA ready player that's ready to help the Miami Heat next year, and he's a big forward, 6'7", who can do a little bit of everything, jack of all trades, but a master of none. But I think his experience and his NBA readiness will be good for the Heat. I just don't know if he should have gone 18th. And at 20, the Houston Rockets get, I think, the steal of the draft, Cam Whitmore, who was a betting odds favorite to go 5th, and he fell all the way to 20. And I think there's a combination of a few things. I think he kind of disappointed in some of the workouts he had for these higher pick teams, but the medical reports seem to scare some teams as well. But again, he was supposed to go top 5. For him to fall all the way to 20 to Houston, that's a huge win for Houston, and I think he fills a need that they had. And now I'm expecting their starting lineup to be Amen Thompson at the 1, Jalen Green at the 2, Cam at the 3, Jabari Smith at the 4, Sengun at the 5, and I think that's a good start to your rebuild, and they have some money to spend, so maybe they can fill out that bench a little bit. The Brooklyn Nets had back-to-back picks at 21 and 22 because of their own pick and Phoenix pick, and they went with Noah Clowney out of Alabama and Dariq Whitehead out of Duke. And I don't hate these picks, but I was really hoping for them to take a higher upside guard such as Nick Smith Jr. I really thought he was going to go here to the Nets, but Dariq Whitehead will at the bare minimum be a good spot up shooter and a solid defender. The injury concerns are there, but I think he's a safe pick. And Noah Clowney, versatile forward, I think they have a lot of those in Brooklyn, but you can never have too many, I suppose. And back at 28 were the Utah Jazz, where they selected Bryce Sensabaugh out of Ohio State. And Bryce Sensabaugh is a bucket. He is one of the best scorers in the draft. While his playmaking as well as defense may be a bit of a concern, he fell all the way down to 28, and Utah will gladly take that. And I think that he will give them some production off the bench. Coming off of their championship run, the Denver Nuggets have been trying to find ways to replace the production of Bruce Brown in case he leaves this year in free agency, and they found their way into the first round, and they took Julian Strawther. And I think there's another guy that can come in as a high-level rookie, play spot minutes just like Christian Brown did, and I think they'll find a role for him, and I think he will contribute if needed when Bruce Brown departs. And that pretty much wraps up the first round, but there are a few quick hitters in the second round that I wanted to address. I thought Leonard Miller was a guy who was most likely going to go in the first round. He fell out, and he went to Minnesota, and I think they will find a role for him, as they do need some wing depth in that roster, as well as at 34 the Sacramento Kings took Kobe Jones, who I think he was a great combo guard last year, and I think he's another NBA ready guy who can play some spot minutes for them if needed. 36 the Bucks took Andre Jackson Jr., and he is just a winning player who is always willing to make the right plays no matter what that is, and I think he's another guy who can find his way into some minutes on a playoff team. And the Bucks are pretty expensive and have an older roster, so getting these guys on rookie deals that can come in and contribute is huge, and I think he's capable of that. And my Wizards were on the clock at 42, and they took Tristan Vucevic. He's another high upside center who kind of plays like Porzingis, who they just lost. He likes to stretch the floor. He's a 7-footer who can do a little bit of everything offensively. And again, the Wizards aren't trying to win, so these high upside picks are really all you can ask for. Amani Bates was a guy a few years ago who was projected to be the top player in this class, and his stock kind of plummeted after all the off-court stuff, as well as years about his frame, shot selection, motor, all that. But he falls to 49 to the Cavs, who have been trying to find a small forward for that core that they have in Cleveland. And while I doubt he will be the answer, I think there's a chance that he could be a rotational player, and taking a shot at him at 49 is not too bad. And the last pick that I want to talk about is the Golden State Warriors acquiring Trayce Jackson-Davis at 57, and I think it's actually good for them. I think Trayce Jackson-Davis was one of the better players in college basketball last year, and while he is older and a little undersized for the way he plays, I think he's pretty versatile at 6'9" and can play defense I think the Warriors were really needing some backup big man minutes, and I think Trayce Jackson-Davis might be able to provide that even as a rookie. Those are some of my thoughts on this year's NBA draft. I do think it was a fun draft. I was hoping for a little bit more trades, but I think this offseason will be fun. So let me know your thoughts in the comments about how this draft went, and I will see you all in the next one.